Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to share with you something that is far more important than any promotion, any salary, or any job title you could ever earn. We spend most of our lives working hard for our companies, our bosses, and our job. We wake up every day to fulfill the demands of our workplace, but very few of us stop and ask, what am I doing to work on myself? You see, your job will make you a living, but working on yourself will make you a life. And this is the difference between people who stay average and those who create extraordinary futures. When you work harder on yourself than you do on your job, you are building something no one can take away from you. Your job can disappear overnight. The economy can collapse. A company can fire you. But the skills you invest in yourself, the knowledge you put inside your mind, and the discipline you develop every single day will stay with you forever. That is your true wealth. That is the foundation that will create opportunities even when everything else around you seems uncertain. Most people believe success comes from working long hours and dedicating their entire energy to their job. But let me tell you this truth. If you spend all your life working only for your job, you will never escape the cycle of being controlled by it. Your company will always find someone else who can replace you. But if you spend your life working on yourself, improving your mindset, sharpening your skills, strengthening your discipline, then no one can replace you because you become a unique asset. You are no longer just an employee. You become a leader, a thinker, an innovator, a creator. Think about it. The most successful people in the world are not those who had the best jobs. They are the ones who built themselves into the kind of people that opportunities chase after. Success is not about waiting for the right job. It's about becoming the right person for any job, any challenge, any future. And that only happens when you commit to self-growth above everything else. When you work harder on yourself than you do on your job, you stop competing with others and start competing with who you were yesterday. You don't measure your life by how much your salary increases each year. You measure it by how much your character, your wisdom, and your vision grow. That is the true path to freedom. That is the mindset that transforms ordinary lives into extraordinary stories. So, ladies and gentlemen, remember this. Your job may give you comfort today, but your growth will give you power tomorrow. Work on your job, yes, but work even harder on yourself. Because when you do, you don't just prepare for a better career. You prepare for a better future, a better life, and a better version of yourself that nothing and no one can take away. The greatest mistake most people make is thinking their job defines their future. They believe if they just keep showing up, working long hours, and doing what's expected, eventually life will reward them. But the truth is, your job only pays you for the value you bring at that moment. It does not guarantee your future, nor does it secure your destiny. If you want a future that is bigger than your current paycheck, you must learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Because no matter how stable your career seems, the world is changing faster than ever. Jobs can vanish, industries can collapse, and technology can replace people in the blink of an eye. But the person you become through self-growth, the knowledge, discipline, the creativity, the problem-solving skills that will always stay with you, that is the real insurance policy for your future. Think of your job as a platform, not a destination. It's where you gain experience, but it's not where you should stop. Many people put their entire energy into becoming good employees, but they forget to become better human beings. You can be excellent at following orders, meeting deadlines, and impressing your boss. But if you don't invest in improving yourself, your mindset, your skills, you will always remain dependent on others for your next opportunity. When you work harder on yourself, you begin to build something your job cannot give you: independence. Success is not just about climbing the corporate ladder. It is about becoming the kind of person who doesn't wait for a ladder, but builds their own. That requires discipline. It requires taking the time after work to read, to learn new skills, to expand your knowledge, and to strengthen your character. Most people waste their evenings on entertainment, but successful people use those hours to invest in themselves. They understand that while their job pays them today, their growth will pay them forever. Working harder on yourself also means developing the habits that set you apart. If you only work when someone tells you to, you are replaceable. But when you train yourself to think bigger, act with initiative, and constantly push beyond your limits, you create a value that no company can easily replace. People may forget what tasks you completed, but they will never forget the strength of your character and the uniqueness of your abilities. That's why growth is more important than any paycheck. Consider this: if you lose your job tomorrow, what will remain? Only the person you have built. If you've only worked for your job, you'll feel empty and lost. But if you've worked on yourself, if you've cultivated resilience, confidence, creativity, you will see that losing a job is not losing your future. Instead, it becomes a new door, a new chance, because your skills and mindset are tools that no one can take away. Every successful person you admire today did not reach their level because of one job. They reached it because they transformed themselves. They worked harder on becoming valuable than on being employed. They didn't just ask, "What can I do for my job?" They ask, "What can I do for myself that will make me valuable in any job, any business, any opportunity?" That question changes everything. When you decide to work harder on yourself, you stop fearing change. You stop fearing the loss of a job, the rise of competition, or the unpredictability of the world. Why? Because you trust in what you have built within yourself. You know that no matter where you go, you carry your value with you. That is freedom. That is security. That is power. So never forget this truth. Your job can give you money, but your growth will give you freedom. Your job can make you comfortable, but your growth will make you powerful. If you want to rise above the ordinary, do not just become an expert in your work. Become a master of yourself. The world belongs not to those who wait for opportunities, but to those who prepare themselves so much that opportunities cannot ignore them. That is why working harder on yourself than on your job is not just advice. It is the only way to secure your future in a world where everything else can be taken away. People spend their entire lives believing that their job is their only source of security. They hold on to it tightly as if losing it would mean losing everything. But this mindset is dangerous because it makes you dependent. Real success comes when you shift your thinking from being dependent on a job to being dependent on yourself. When you realize that your true security comes not from a monthly paycheck but from the value you create within yourself, you begin to see the world differently. Stop being a prisoner of fear and you start building real freedom. The reason many people stay stuck in the same place for years is that they never work on increasing their value. They learn just enough to do their job. They don't invest in learning new skills, exploring new ideas, or pushing themselves to grow. And then when change comes, when their company downsizes, when new technology disrupts their industry, they feel helpless because they were depending on something outside their control. But the people who survive and thrive are those who invested in themselves. They didn't just learn how to perform tasks. They learned how to think, how to adapt, how to innovate. That's the difference between temporary security and lasting freedom. Imagine two people. One works hard on his job, doing only what is asked of him, and at the end of each month, he receives his paycheck. The other also works hard on his job, but after hours he spends time reading books, taking online courses, practicing communication, and building leadership skill. After a few years, who do you think will have more opportunities? Who will be more prepared when life throws unexpected challenges? The answer is obvious. The one who worked on himself will always have more doors open, because he is not limited by the boundaries of his current position. His value travels with him. When you invest in yourself, you start to realize that your future is not in your employer's hands, it's in your own hands. And this realization is powerful. It forces you to take responsibility for your growth. You no longer wait for someone else to promote you or give you a raise. Instead, you create opportunities by becoming so valuable that people cannot ignore you. When you are disciplined enough to grow, people will want to work with you. Companies will want to hire you and opportunities will chase you instead, you chasing them. The most successful people in the world were not born with special advantages. Many of them started with nothing, but they had one thing in common. They worked on themselves relentlessly. They knew that if they became stronger, wiser, and more disciplined, success would eventually follow. They treated every challenge as a chance to grow, every failure as a lesson, and every day as an opportunity to add something new to their character. This is why they outgrew their jobs and built lives that no company could ever provide. Another important truth is that working on yourself is not just about professional skills. It's also about your mindset, your habits, and your discipline. If you cannot control your emotions, no job will save you. If you cannot manage your time, no opportunity will last. If you cannot handle failure, no success will sustain you. Growth means building a stronger version of yourself in every area: mentally, emotionally, and practically. It means becoming the kind of person who can survive in any environment, because your strength comes from within, not from external circumstances. Think of your job as the soil and yourself as the seed. The soil may change, it may be rocky, fertile, or dry, but what matters most is the seed. If the seed is strong, it will grow anywhere. If you spend your life worrying about the soil but never strengthen the seed, then no matter where you go, but if you work on becoming stronger, smarter, and more capable, then even in poor soil, you will find a way to grow. That's the power of working harder on yourself than on your job. You should never measure your worth by the size of your paycheck. Instead, measure it by the skills you've developed, the knowledge you've gained, and the resilience you've built. Because money can come and go, but who you become stays forever. And the better you become, the more money, opportunities, and freedom you will attract naturally. Success always follows growth. It never comes the other way around. So stop thinking that your job is your only path to security. Your real security is your ability to learn, to grow, and to adapt. The job you have today may disappear tomorrow, but the person you are becoming will never disappear. Work harder on yourself, and you will never have to fear losing your future. Most people think that working harder means spending longer hours at the office, staying late, or sacrificing rest. They confuse activity with progress, but progress is not about how many hours you work, it's about how much you grow while working. The truth is, if you are not learning while you are working, or simply repeating the same actions every day, like a machine, machines don't grow, they only perform. Human beings must grow. Otherwise, no matter how hard you work, you will remain stuck in the same position. This is why learning while working is the most powerful habit you can develop. Every day you go to your job, you are not only being paid to perform tasks, you are being given the chance to study how systems work, how people behave, how leaders think, and how opportunities appear. The workplace is not just a place to earn a salary, it is a classroom for those who pay attention. But most people waste this opportunity. They only do the bare minimum, waiting for the clock to strike 5, so they can run home. They do not ask questions, they do not take note, they do not reflect. And then years later they wonder why their lives haven't changed. The answer is simple. They treated their job like a prison, not a school. When you approach your job with the mindset of a student, everything changes. Instead of saying, "This is boring," you ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of complaining about your boss, you ask, "What does leadership look like under pressure?" Instead of being frustrated with colleagues, you ask, "How can I improve my communication and influence?" By doing this, you turn ordinary days into extraordinary lessons. Even the most difficult situations become opportunities for growth. Think about it. If you only see your job as a paycheck, the value ends at the end of the month. But if you use your job as training, the value lasts for a lifetime. Every skill you gain, every lesson you learn, every habit you develop, becomes part of who you are. You may leave the job one day, but the growth stays with you forever. That is why the smartest people treat their workplace like a free university. They are getting paid while learning skills that will create more opportunities in the future. Another important aspect of learning while working is that it prepares you for the unexpected. The world is changing fast. Industries rise and fall. Technology replaces old systems, and what is valuable today may be outdated tomorrow. If you are only doing your job mechanically, you will be left behind. But if you are constantly observing, studying, and expanding your knowledge, you will always be ready to adapt. You won't be afraid of change, because you will know that you are capable of learning new things quickly. That is real security, the confidence that no matter what happens, you can handle it. For example, imagine two employees in the same company. One simply follows instructions, finishes tasks, and waits for his paycheck. The other does the same work, but also studies how decisions are made in meetings, how strategies are built, and how customers respond. After 5 years, who will be more valuable? Who will be more prepared for leadership? The difference is not in the hours worked, but in the lessons absorbed. One person worked for money, the other worked for growth. And growth always leads to bigger opportunities. Learning while working also requires humility. Many people block their own growth because they think they already know enough. They don't listen, they don't ask for help, they don't study the details. But real growth begins when you admit that you don't know everything. When you humble yourself, you can learn from anyone. A colleague,
a customer, even a mistake. Every interaction becomes a lesson if you keep your mind open. The most successful people are those who never stop being students, no matter how high they rise. And let's not forget discipline. Learning at work doesn't happen automatically. You must discipline yourself to seek knowledge. That means paying attention when others are distracted, writing down notes when others are careless, asking questions when others stay silent, practicing new skills even when it feels uncomfortable. Growth is not easy. It requires effort and patience. But if you are disciplined, the rewards will always come. You must also remember that the purpose of learning while working is not only to succeed in your job, it is to prepare you for the future. The job you have today may not be your final destination, but the lessons you learn today will prepare you for the opportunities of tomorrow. Many great entrepreneurs and visionaries did not start at the top. They started at the bottom, doing small jobs. But while they worked, they were watching, learning, and training themselves. That is why when their chance came, they were ready. So never treat your work as just work. Treat it as practice. Every day you are sharpening your mind, strengthening your character, and building your future. If you adopt this mindset, no job will ever be wasted. No day will ever be meaningless. Everything will become part of your preparation for success. That is why discipline beats talent every time. The habit of learning while working is one of the most powerful keys to success. It transforms ordinary jobs into extraordinary opportunities. It ensures that you are never just working for money. You are working for yourself, your growth, and your future. And when you grow, everything else, money, opportunities, recognition, will naturally follow. The difference between those who succeed and those who remain stuck is often not intelligence, talent, or even luck. It is the willingness to invest in themselves beyond their job description. Too many people make the mistake of thinking their career growth is the responsibility of their company or their boss. They wait for promotions, for training opportunities, for someone else to give them a chance. But real growth never comes from waiting. Real growth begins the moment you take responsibility for your own development. The most powerful investment you can make is not in stocks, not in real estate, not in business. It is in yourself. When you grow, everything around you grows. Think about it this way. A person who spends years working hard at their job, but never improves their knowledge or skills, is like a farmer watering the same dry soil, without planting new seeds. No matter how hard he works, nothing new will grow, because the soil has not changed. In the same way, if you do not invest in your personal growth, your future will look exactly like your present. You may be busy, but you will not be moving forward. On the other hand, a person who invests in learning, who reads books, takes courses, listens to mentors, and practices new skills, is planting seeds every day. Those seeds may not show results immediately, but over time, they grow into opportunities, wealth, and freedom. Investing in yourself is not only about education, but also about discipline, health, and character. If you have the best ideas in the world, but lack the discipline to execute them, your ideas mean nothing. If you work hard but neglect your health, you may never live long enough to enjoy your success. If you earn money but lack integrity, your success will collapse the moment trust is broken. That is why investing in yourself means looking at all areas of growth: your mind, your body, and your spirit. Each part is connected. Strengthen one, and the others follow. Neglect one, and the others suffer. One of the biggest misconceptions people have is that personal growth is expensive. They say, "I can't afford to buy books," or "I don't have money for courses." But the truth is, ignorance costs more than education. Every mistake you make because you lacked knowledge will cost you far more than a book ever would. Every opportunity you miss because you weren't prepared will cost you more than any course. Education is not an expense. It is an investment with the highest return. Even free resources, libraries, podcasts, mentors, online lectures can transform your thinking if you value them. The problem is not money. The problem is mindset. If you truly want to grow, you will always find a way. There is also the question of time. Many people say, "I'm too busy to study," or "I don't have time to learn." But let me ask you, how many hours do you spend scrolling on your phone, watching television, or gossiping with friends? If you took just one of those hours and used it to study a new skill, improve your communication, or strengthen your mindset. Imagine where you would be 1 year from now. Time is the one resource everyone has, equally, but only those who invest it wisely grow faster than the rest. Personal growth requires sacrifice, and sacrifice is the price of success. Another important part of investing in yourself is surrounding yourself with the right people. You cannot grow if you are surrounded by those who do not want to grow. If your friends spend all their time complaining, you will begin to complain. If they waste their energy, you will waste yours. But if you surround yourself with people who are disciplined, who are ambitious, who are hungry to learn, their energy will lift you higher. Your environment shapes your growth. Choose it wisely, because no matter how strong you are, if your environment is pulling you down, you will invest in yourself. Also means building habits that create long-term success. Success is not about one big moment of inspiration. It is about small actions, repeated daily. Reading 10 pages a day may not seem like much, but over a year it adds up to thousands of pages. Practicing a skill for 30 minutes a day may seem small, but over time it builds mastery. Waking up early to plan your day may feel difficult at first, but it builds the discipline to stay ahead of others. These small habits compound over time. The person you become is the final result of the habits you build. If you build strong habits, success becomes unavoidable. The most powerful reason to invest in yourself is freedom. Jobs can be lost, businesses can fail, economies can collapse, but the person you become, the knowledge, the skills, the discipline, the wisdom, can never be taken away from you. That is why personal growth is the ultimate insurance. When you invest in yourself, you create a foundation so strong that no external event can completely destroy you. Even if you lose everything, you will rebuild because you have the strength within. So ask yourself every day, what am I doing today to become a better version of myself tomorrow? Am I learning? Am I growing? Am I building habits that move me forward? Or am I waiting for the world to change while I stay the same? Remember this, your job may pay your bills, but your personal growth will build your future. If you invest in yourself, you will never be poor. If you neglect yourself, no matter how much you earn, you will always be at risk. True success does not start with what you have. It starts with who you are becoming. When you commit to growth, everything else, money, success, will naturally follow. The strongest foundation you can build is not in your job, not in your company, not even in your bank account. The strongest foundation is in yourself. My friends, let me leave you with this. Your job may give you a salary, but your growth will give you a future. Too many people spend their entire lives working harder on their job than they ever work on themselves. And that is why they stay the same, year after year. If you want real success, if you want freedom, if you want to live a life that others only dream about, then make a decision today. Start investing in yourself. Read that book, learn that skill, build that habit. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, not those who keep you comfortable. Because the truth is simple, you grow, your opportunities grow, your income grows, your influence grows. But if you stop growing, everything stops with you. So remember this, your best investment will never be in money or in business.